welcome to Foolish Fancifactions with Finny. And we're going to be having a conversation with Elijah and Michael. Some M&E conversations, cool conversations, whatever you want to call us. I'm going to call it Foolish Fancifactions with Finny. Michael, how are you doing?
As good as I always am, Finny. Especially with you guys around here.
Oh, good. What about you, Elijah?
My name is Dr. Regis Blackguard. Please remember that.
Oh, well, I'm sorry, Dr. Regis Blackguard. Oh, Dr. Blackguard, I'm the moderator of this fancy, fabulative Conversations with Finny. And, is there anything that, any of you guys want to say to us, to start this up?
Yeah. I would really just want the same old good old intro music and not have all these conversations with one of our Hardy Boys. You know what I'm saying?
Ah, yeah. Alright, well then, I guess no fabulous, fanciful Conversations with Finny and just intro music from now on. Sound good to you guys?
Yeah, you bet.
No! Oh, please. Please don't. I love these conversations. And, alright, fine, but I do want to show one person to you guys. Mr. Delay, you may come up now.
Hey guys, I couldn't get a word you said, but I don't really want to be Mr. Delay. Anyway, can we hit the real intro music now? Finny?
Yeah, I'm on it. Let's see. Right here. Controls. Ah, there one is.
Chapter 7, A Fast Fade Out. What do you have in mind, Frank? Joe asked. You weren't sure if Little Strang was one of those men at the mansion tonight, Frank explained, but we do know we saw him this morning. So, if he was involved in the latest jewel robbery, he must have flown to Chicago. It's the only way he could have reached there in time, and maybe we can check out in the airport. A smart idea, Joe grinned. Wait, I'll get the photo of Strang. Maybe we can use it if we need to ask the airline personnel whether or not they've seen him before. The Hardys reached the airport a few minutes before 12, and Joe said, let's start by checking the passenger list for today's flight to Chicago. Strang wouldn't have used his own name if he was en route to commit a crime, Frank objected. Maybe not, but what about his aliases? Joe pointed to a paper with a typewritten data pasted on the reverse side of Strang's photo. Hey, that's a thought. At each of the airline desks, the boys asked to see the passenger list for all flights to Chicago since this morning. Neither Strang's name nor any of the known aliases were listed. Joe showed one desk clerk the photo of Strang, but the man shook his head. All the airline employees are here now come on duty within the last hour. Then he pointed to a porter who was lounging near the flight gate. You may want to ask that skycap over there and then try Benny at the newsstand. Thanks, we'll do that. The boys showed the photograph to the porter and the newsstand operator, and neither recalled seeing such a man. How about charter flights? Joe asked. Let's check on that at the information desk. The attendant on duty told the boys that they would have to inquire about this at the control tower. That is where the plans are filed, he explained. Before the Hardys could visit the tower, Joe spied a plane coming in. Sky Happy Seal! He exclaimed. This was a charter ship of the Ace Air Surface operated by Jack Wayne. Jack was a veteran pilot who often flew assignments for Fenton Hardy, and the boys were shaking hands with Jack and his passenger, Sam Rowley. Good flight? Joe asked the wiry investigator. Sam nodded. Fast and smooth. Your dad thought you boys might brief me right away so we could put some plan in action. We can start right now, Frank told him. Then he gave an account of all the events that had taken the paper. He told of the jewel robbery in Chicago and added, Joe and I are about to ask the tower if Strang might have taken off for Chicago on the charter flight. I can do that, Jack offered. I know the dispatcher. Swell, said Frank. Here's the photo of Strang. One of the men in the tower may recognize him if he took a special flight out of here today. In the meantime, there's something the rest of us can do. What's that? Radley asked. Check the airport parking lot and see if any strange foreign sports cars here. Get Frank, Radley said approvingly. Your dad would tell me that a smart detective never takes anything for granted. While Jack Wayne started off for the control tower, the Hardys and Sam Bradley headed for the parking area. Although it was now past midnight, there were several cars still on the lot. As Sam and boys began their inspection tour, a man stepped into view between two rows of parked cars. Bull-necked and powerfully built, he had crew-cut hair and was wearing a loud sports jacket. At the sight of detectives, he hastily turned and retreated. Sam Bradley was startled. That was Duke Madden, he whispered. The racketeering con man? Joe asked, having heard his father mention that name. Yeah, Sam replied. I wonder what he's doing here. The sleuthing instincts aroused, and the detectives strode forward to investigate. Frank and Joe followed eagerly. Suddenly, an engine roared and a car came zooming out of the darkness. Sam and the Hardys had to leap out of the way as it screeched past. That's Strang's sports car! Frank shouted. Mackin was hunched at the wheel. A figure appeared to be huddled in the space behind the front seat, but the car had whizzed by too quickly for clear view. It strung out onto the road. Come on, let's follow him, Frank urged. The Hardys and Bradley ran to the Hardys' convertible, leaped in and took off, but the chase seemed hopeless from the start. Mackin, speeding recklessly, was already out of sight. Frank gunned the convertible along for a few minutes, but after they had passed several crossroads and turned off, all three agreed to abandon the pursuit as hopeless. Glumly, Frank headed back to the airport. What do you suppose Mackin was up to, Sam? He queried. Think he could have been in Strang on the Jew robberies? Frank frowned and shrugged. Must be some kind of tie-up if he's using Strang's car. Trouble is, we don't even know for sure that Strang's involved in the robberies. Looked to me as if somebody was hiding in the car, Joe remarked. Maybe that was Strang himself, trying not to be spotted. Could be, Frank agreed. But if so, why was he hanging around the airport parking lot this time of night? When they arrived back at the airport, Jack Wayne had important news. A charter plane owned and piloted by the name Al Harif had taken off at 9:37 p.m. The flight plan listed a destination at Chicago, and the ship was carrying a passenger named Norbert Smith. One of the tower operators was down in the field at that time, Jack warned, and he saw the passenger getting aboard. He said the guy looked just like the photograph of Strang. Now we're getting somewhere, Joe exclaimed. For one thing, Strang wasn't the fellow hiding in his own car. We suppose this man is... Do you know this man, Harif? Frank asked Jack. I've seen him, the pilot replied. He rented a hangar space around a week before I flew Sam down to Florida. Jack, said Radley, could you stick around here and let us know whether this plane gets back? The pilot nodded. Sure. I have a cot in the office. Maybe I can get chummy with her if I pick up some more information with you. Good idea, said Frank. But one thing more, Jack. Keep an eye out for a black foreign sports car with a dented truck. It may come here to pick up Strang when he gets back. We'll go, the pirate promised. The Bradley was to bunk in the Hardy's guest room overnight. As they drove home, the boys discussed the situation with them. The plane took off at 9:37, Joe mused, and the robbery took place at 10 o'clock. It's a cinch. Strang couldn't have made it to Chicago in time to pull the job. Maybe he planned it that way, Joe reasoned, so he'd have a clear alibi in case his movements were checked. He could have had Confederates steal the jewels. Then Strang showed up in Chicago immediately afterwards to take the charge of the loot and give the robbers a fast lift out of town. You may have the answer, Bradley agreed. And when they arrived home, Miss Hardy greeted them with the news that her husband had radioed again. He heard about the Chicago jewel robbery right after you left Long Island, Sam. He wants you to contact him at once. Bradley and the boys hurried downstairs and warmed up the transmitter. Soon, friend Hardy's voice came over the speaker. Frank and Joe quickly reported the latest developments. Great work, sons, the detective congratulated them. This is the first solid clue we've had since the may link to Strang with the jewel thieves. Want to have us have him picked up for questioning if he comes back to Bayport? Frank asked, taking the microphone from Joe. No. The local police have no jurisdiction, and anyway, they need a warrant from Chicago, Mr. Hardy replied. Besides, unless Strang were foolish enough to carry the loot around with him, which I'm sure he isn't, we still have no real evidence against him. Until we do, there's no sense tipping our hand. How about me, Fenton? Sam Riley put in. I'll probably need your help to cover all the angles in Chicago. Tell you what, Sam. If Strang is back in Bayport by 8 tomorrow morning, stay there and work with the boys. Otherwise, hop at the 8:30 commercial flight to Chicago, and I'll meet you at the O'Hare Airport. And tell Jack to stick around to give you boys a hand. Riley breakfasted early with the Hardys next morning, and the brothers took him to the airport. Harris' plane had still not returned, so Riley boarded the 8:30 flight to Chicago. Frank and Joe drove home and looked at Duke Mann and their father's crime file. They learned that Mackin had served time on 3 different convictions and recently had been released from the Sing Sing. Since then, so far, the dossier showed no charge was pending against him. Next, Frank called a real estate agent who was a friend of Mr. Hardy's and learned that the Perth mansion had been handled by a realtor named Cyrus Lamican. The boys drove to his office. Lamican sat at the old-fashioned roll-top desk. He was a pudgy white man whose vest was littered with cigarette ash. You're one of the Hardy boys, eh? Rit said, to shake his hand. Fine man, your father. What can I do for you? Frank asked guardedly if he could tell them about the present status of the Perth mansion. Why, I just stole that mansion just a few months ago. Lambton replied. A good price too. I imagine the owners were really glad to get that white elephant off out their hands. The distant relatives of the original owner live out of Ohio. Who bought it? Joe asked. Oh, a man named Ed Durham. Frank and Joe gave a start of surprise as Lamican went on. He's a rather quick champion, but he's a brilliant man. Apparently, he used to be a professor at the Western State University. The Hardys looked at each other in amazement. Why would a college professor associate with a known crook like Strang? Lamican went on. Funny how a piece of property can suddenly arouse interest in the real estate market, he mused conversationally. Take that Perth place, vacant for years. Then Darryl comes along and buys it. And now you lads are asking about the place. Second inquiry I've had in just a few days. Wait, you mean somebody else besides us has been asking about it? Rick inquired. Yeah, a prospective tenant came in the other day. He wanted to rent it. Someone local? Joe asked. Nah, from New York. Lamican paused to consult his calendar pad. Mr. Dilius Martin. Again, Frank and Joe were startled. The name was one of Duke Mackin's aliases. After a short further conversation with Mr. Lamican, the boys thanked the realtor and went back out to the convertible. What do you make of, Frank? Joe asked. Nothing. This puzzle's getting more complicated all the time. A college proof runs the place, and a Tortorius jewel thief jumps in with him. Now we have to fix Mackin in somewhere. The boys decided to check into Darryl's background, but first they decided to drive to the repair dock to see how work was progressing on the sleuth. The manager promised to have the boat ready in 3 days. Frank and Joe spied the Napoleon moored nearby. They were hailed by Tony Prito, who suggested they go for a brief swim. How about it? Joe said, turning his brother. Our trunks are in the car. Okay with me. Tony took the Napoleon down the bay a short distance, and they anchored at a pleasant spot in the sheltered cove. A cabin cruiser lay in anchor not far away, and Frank and Tony took a quick plunge and climbed back to a sunbathe. Johnny continued swimming by himself. Like a seal, Joe cut his way through the cool, refreshing water. Then he swirled back toward the surface. Suddenly he felt himself seized from underneath. A brawny arm clamped itself under his neck in a choking grip and pulled him down. To find out what happens to Joe, make sure to stay tuned for Chapter 8.